Hello, my friends. Welcome back to the One Fear Per Year podcast, where we talk about looking those little fears that we have in the eyeballs and saying, you know what? Thank you for trying to keep me safe, but I think I can handle this now. And today, I am joined by a very special guest who I am really looking forward to hearing his story, getting to know him a little bit more. Eric Recker, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I was all in my head about saying your last name, but did I get it?
You nailed it. Nailed it. Absolutely perfect.
Awesome. The first thing I want to ask you about is tell me about the dam analogy that is right behind you.
Yeah. Yeah. So The Dam Analogy is a book that I wrote a couple of years ago. And the reason that I wrote it, I have a burnout story. And that burnout story, I'm a dentist. That is my day job. I also do some coaching and speaking. But dentistry is my day job, and I have one of those burnout stories that led me to get really close to selling my dental practice and walking away from dentistry. Chest pain, heart palpitations, tension headaches, panic attacks, all that kind of stuff. Felt like the walls were constantly closing in. And so I needed to figure out how to get out of that. And I'd actually tried to sell my practice, and when it didn't pan out, I had to figure out what I wanted to do with life. And one of the things that I figured out during that time, I spent a lot of time in quiet reflection and studying. And one of the things I realized on a crazy morning bike ride across the dam, which is literally a mile away from our house, we live really close to a lake. I was riding my bike across, and in my mind, I heard, "We are the dam." And I thought, is this a low blood sugar thing? What's going on here? Right? So I thought about it. And as I thought about it, as I broke it down even more, we are like a dam. All we are really doing is controlling the flow of energy that goes through our bodies. That's it. Just controlling that energy. It's going to flow. It flows through us. So we have two sides of the dam. One side is the river, right? That's the outflow side. And what I find, and what was true of me when I was burned out, is I was spending all of my energy on outflow. Outflow is all the things we do to affect the world. It's how we impact the world. It's our vocation. It is the habits that we have. It is the volunteering that we do. It's all the things that drain energy from us. Some of them are good things, but they're all things that drain energy. On the other side of the dam is the lake, and that's our reserves. So we really want to have a nice, healthy lake. And the lake that I live near, a lot of people boat on it. It's recreational, it's beautiful. But the problem is we spend so much time on the outflow side, right? We make sure we get all our stuff done, but we're terrible about making sure that we refill the dam. So what happens is we get chronically empty. When we get empty, when the lake gets empty, then stuff appears on the bottom of the lake, and there's a chance for snags with boats and different things like that. When we get too full, we become full of ourselves. It's all ego. We're not doing anything to bless other people or impact the world. So the right balance that we hopefully find is where we are doing an appropriate amount of outflow and balancing it with some self-care to help fill the dam back up.
Oh, Eric, come on. I want to give you a standing ovation for that because what a brilliant way to put that and to do it in an analogy way and seemingly very God or divinely inspired, uh, where I've had that before too, where you hear a phrase or something comes up for you and it repeats itself and it repeats itself. And it's like, okay, what's in this for me? How do I make sense of what I'm feeling, receiving, downloading? And what an amazing analogy to put it that way. I mean, forever I will remember this, and I feel like it will impact the way that I show up to be able to think of it this way. So great job in taking that, distilling it down, thinking about it more. I'm sure it took how long from that point of inspiration of this idea and the book?
So I heard the inspiration, and then probably 2 years it kind of sat dormant for me. And then it came up again. And I thought when it started to come up, that was a part where I felt like a time where I felt like I was getting a lot downloaded to me. Not surprisingly, it was also a time where I was actually allowing myself to have some time in quiet. I think a lot of times we wonder, why am I not hearing anything? Why am I not experiencing anything? Well, maybe because you're not putting your phone down or Netflix down long enough to actually hear something if it was there. And so I think that is super important. And I think there's this misconception that self-care is selfish, that we have to just outflow, 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 outflow. I think this problem is particularly chronic for women who think they have to be everything to everyone in all their different roles, working as a mom, as a parent, as all those kind of things. For me, it really struck. I felt like I needed to be everything to my patients and my team, and that someday someone was going to show up and I wasn't going to know the answer to something and I was going to be exposed as a fraud. So really it's realizing those things, realizing the things that drain our lake, and then being really careful about stepping back into that space and saying, "Oh man, I'm empty." And I know I'm empty because I'm getting chippy with people. I'm being reactive. I'm not thinking things through. I'm just worn down. Okay, well, this weekend I need to figure out how can I carve out a little bit of time for me to kind of right the ship so that I have something for next week.
Is that what you did when you were experiencing these panic attacks and the burnout at that level where then it becomes physical? What was that? What was the thing where you finally were like, oh, okay, I really need to change something with how I'm approaching life?
Yeah, it really took COVID to get me to slow down and realize that I was under the mistaken assumption that this is just how it is. I felt like this is just what happens for business owners. They go through all these stresses. I didn't actually know that what I was having was a panic attack until I explained it to my physician, and he said, "Oh, that's a panic attack." And he says, "How often do you have those?" I said, "Oh, getting to be quite a bit more often." And he says, "That's not okay." And him actually telling me that's not okay, and then me actually reaching out to a few people and saying, "Hey, is this what it's like for you?" I said, "Some different versions, but that not really to that extent." And then I thought, this is too hard. This is all just too hard. I can't have another panic attack. I can't have this. Eventually, all this cortisol that's building up, my body's going to show up as the repo man, and it's going to be time. I'm going to have a heart attack. I'm going to have something, and I don't want to do that to my family. So that's why I decided that I needed to sell my practice and walk away. For me, it was the path of least resistance. I was willing to give up my livelihood, give up my relationships with my team and with my patients and all of that to escape burnout, when really I thought that was easier than doing the work that I figured I probably was going to have to do to right the ship.
So, putting in the hard work in the self-care department, in the lake department. I mean, it is always very interesting as a recovering people pleaser and knowing very much about that part of things. Um, the feeling of guilt when you step away from a pattern that you've been doing for quite some time. What do you tell people now? Because I know that you help other medical practitioners find this kind of balance and get back to a healthy state. What's part of the advice that you give now for people in that situation?
Yeah, a whole bunch of things. One of the biggest things is just the phrase, you can have this or you can have that, but you can't have them both. You can have this or you can have that, but you can't have them both. So you can be a people pleaser, 100 miles an hour, saying yes to everything, filling your schedule, doing all of that stuff, but you can't have peace. Those are mutually exclusive things. Or you can, any kind of version of that, really. That's one of the biggest things. And the other thing is, I tell people you need to get really comfortable with delegating, and you need to get really comfortable with the word no. Because every single yes that you say is a no to something else. We have 24 hours in a day. That's the perfect amount of time. It's been that way forever. It's going to be that way forever. Nobody can buy an extra second. So because it's always been that way, when people say they need more time, they don't need more time. They just need to use their time differently. They need to say no to some things. When I realize some of the things that people ask me to do, I realize, okay, this is at that time. Okay, if I do that, I'm saying no to my wife. I'm saying no to this. And sometimes it's okay. I don't have to spend every waking moment that I have with my wife. But if I'm chronically saying, if I'm scheduling a meeting every single night, and then I've worked during the day and I have a meeting at night, and then we get to the weekend and I want to spend some time with her, there's a distance because there hasn't been any connection.
Right.
So it's just kind of looking at all of those things, these habits that we've so slowly developed to say yes to everything, to be everything to everybody, to please people. We slowly have to start to unravel those if we want any hope of getting that life that we want.
Totally. And part of people pleasing is this fear of disappointing someone else, like with the saying no to things. Talk a little bit about that. What have you done in your own life with that fear of disappointing others, maybe fear of conflict? What have you done personally to walk through that to help with that?
My dad gave me a great piece of advice, and he told me that piece of advice is you can't fault the ask. You can't fault the ask. So anybody can ask you for anything, ever. That doesn't mean you have to say yes. People are going to ask for more of your time, more of you, more of your wisdom, more of your expertise, more of all of those things. And there's a point where you have to realize that cost that is bringing to you. I could see people, my dental patients, at all hours of the day. If early on in my career I always said yes to all of those. I've had people call me in the middle of the night, and one person even said, "Well, I can't sleep, so you can't sleep." That was we chose not to see that patient anymore.
Oh my
Let's just say,
gosh. You're
yeah,
like, bye.
yeah. But people are unreasonable, and they are going to ask so much of you. They
Mhm.
really are. So understanding that other people are working from a selfish motivation for the most part. We're pretty selfish people. We want our own survival. We want to thrive. And so we're going to try to manipulate other people to get what we want. Well, I have a lot of things that my team has asked me at the office, and it used to be, oh man, I have to give them what they want whenever they want, or else they're going to go to another office, or else they're going to do this. No, we try to meet in the middle and say, okay, this is what you're asking. I'm not able to do that. Can we do something that works for both of us? So it's not always just saying no to someone, it's trying to figure out, okay, is there a compromise? Because what you're asking really is not reasonable. It's not something I can do.
Yeah,
Does that make sense?
totally. Absolutely. If someone's working a 40, 50, maybe even 60-hour work week, and they want to get more in the lake reserves, fill that up a little more. What advice would you give to them, knowing their schedule? What would you say?
Yeah, one of my favorite concepts that I've been teaching lately is scaling your recovery. Love to talk about scaling your recovery because what happens is we think that we need a 1 week vacation. Let's just call a 1 week vacation the gold standard, right? Everybody wants that, right? We want to go and sit on a beach or we want to do whatever during that
Oh
time,
yeah.
right? For you, it's the beach. For me, it's the mountains. That's where I want to go to recharge. The problem is how many of those do we get in a year, right? Maybe two. Let's say maybe two. Some people get a little bit more. Some people get one. We put so much pressure on that vacation to be all of the things. And we probably ran ourselves into the ground getting ready for that vacation. So there's a chance it's going to take us at least 2, 3, 4 days to kind of get uncorked in that vacation to really enjoying it. So guess what? We get a day or two to enjoy it. And then all of a sudden we're thinking about going back, right? And this happens, and then all of a sudden you're on the plane back or the drive back from your vacation. You're like, what just happened? And now I need a vacation from my vacation. So I said, okay, you don't have a vacation right now, even though you need one. Okay, do you have a long weekend? Okay, do you have a long weekend? No, I really don't. I'm just crazy. Okay, do you have a weekend or do you have a weekend within the next month? Well, yeah, I have this weekend. Okay, what can you do in that weekend to fill yourself up? And I don't mean sitting at home scrolling on your phone the whole time. I mean things that really recharge you. What's something you could do? It doesn't have to be expensive, boundaried within that weekend. Well, I really don't have a weekend. I'm working a ton right now. Okay, do you have a day? Nope, I don't have a day. Do you have an afternoon? Do you have an hour? Do you have a half hour? Do you have 15 minutes? And really, the reality is what do we have more? Tuesdays or 1 week vacations? Right? It's an easy answer. We have a ton of Tuesdays. We have 52 of them this year, right? So, well, how can you win on a Tuesday? And how can you win in those really small spots? So, I have 2 minutes in between things. Am I going to pick up my phone and scroll through social media for a little bit? Or am I going to sit where I'm at and do some intentional breathing for 2 minutes? Am I going to stand by the window in a power pose? And a power pose would be standing kind of like Superman, hands on your hips, feet just a little bit wider than shoulder width, puff your chest up a little bit, and just look out the window. Those little things don't seem like much, but they decrease cortisol, they increase dopamine and serotonin. Really, they're like a control alt delete for our bodies. They're just like a brief reset. Our phone's not working. We shut it down, turn it back on, right? That's what that is. Take out a journal, write down 5 things you're grateful for. Take a walk around the office or around the block. Go stand with the sunlight on your forehead. Choose things other than digital distractions. And the reality is if you can win on a Tuesday consistently, you are not going to need those vacations as much. You will have done little things. How about on your drive home? Maybe your drive home takes 5 minutes. Maybe that's not long enough. Maybe you need to take a 10-minute route to get home so that you can get yourself ready to be present with your family. It's little micro hacks like that that can really create a sustainable life.
Absolutely. And I remember when I used to, years ago, I was like barely 20, I think. I worked at a law firm. And I remember some of the paralegals and secretaries every lunchtime, they had their heels and then they had their tennis shoes. And they would just have their dresses on and everything, put on those tennis shoes, and you'd see them walking around. And it really does, these things, like you're saying, make a big difference in the middle of maybe a hectic workday or it's busy or whatever, but you're making that intentional choice to do that. And last question, because we've run out of time. This has been so great. I'm very grateful for you coming on and giving us all of this goodness. What, for you, if there was an opposite word of fear? So the exact opposite, just one word, no right or wrong answer. But when you think in your own life, how maybe fear has held you back and what it is in to you, what's that opposite word?
Win. And I would say win because that is my thing. Win the now is my thing. So it's trying to find wins in the moments of our lives. Everywhere we're at, the present moment is the most important moment. And how can we find a win in the present moment?
Eric, no better way to end than that. Everybody go out in this present moment, take a deep breath, feel the sun on your face, tune into gratitude and that space, and go out and live your very best, most amazing life. We'll see you next time, everybody.